Thank you for tuning in to the Keeping It Real with KC podcast, a no judgment zone podcast that covers lifestyle, entertainment, news, and sports. Even though KC doesn't watch sports, but these are minor details. By the way, he reads tarot cards too. Yes, I really mean it. He reads tarot cards too. And now, the host you've tuned in for, KC Phoenix.
Welcome back to the Keeping It Real with KC podcast. I decided to do this episode just to give some updates to what has been brewing. Usually I don't tell people what I'm doing. I just sort of do it and then that's when you find out. But from time to time, every blue moon, I do make an announcement saying, okay, this is what's happening and all that other stuff, blase, blase. But before I go any further, KIRWKC.com, main podcasting platform. This podcast is carried on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Overcast, Bullhorn, Amazon Music, Audible, and several other podcasting platforms. Please feel free to listen to this podcast on whatever platform is most convenient for you. KIRWKC on all the social media platforms. As for the platforms, I plan on one of the things, the show announcement. One episode I plan on doing is breaking down my listenership because it was so weird. I was just going through and I clicked on a button because I don't really pay attention to the stats that much. It's like I know I get the rough estimates and stuff, but I don't really get down into the details. Like I know that 90% of my audience is female. I know that 89 to 90% of my listeners are in the US. I know that 18% of my listeners listen to the show on Apple Podcast. I know that, I think it's now 9% of my listeners listen to the show on Spotify, and so on and so forth. But when it came down to listeners, I didn't know that I had the ability to see exactly where people were listening at and how detailed it was. From, as in, it will tell me the country and the city too, which I thought it blew my mind. And with the US, I was looking at the states, and then after the states, I could go into the cities and see, okay, because for some of the cities where people listen to my podcast, like in the state of California, I was actually kind of shocked. I thought that the majority of my California listeners came from Los Angeles, and they don't. So it's just little things like that where I'd like to break some of that down. Also, for a certain country, I just knew that my listeners in a certain country were coming from a certain city. But I was wrong. It's a totally different city that they are in. So, yeah, I'm going to talk about that because, like I said, I'm the type of person, I can get down into the weeds. Because once I start researching things, I just get carried away. And that's why I have to stop myself sometimes. Because I don't like to get too caught up in things because it's almost like you walk into a library or you walk into something with all of this information and you could stay lost in there forever. And it's one of those things when I start learning new stuff from time to time. So I do my best to consume the information and not let the information consume me. But that's one of the things I plan on talking about on one of my episodes. Another thing, the new segment, Listen to What I Made. Yes, I'm still working on the recipe. I'm still KC-arizing it, is what I'm doing. So this is where I'm at. And also, if you have not listened to the episode, I I introduced the segment. It's new. It's something I'm experimenting with. And what I'm doing is just taking a more healthier path. And not that how I eat now is so bad, because it isn't. And not even before things had changed was it just ridiculously horrible. However, I'm just like, how healthy and tasteful can I make something? Because usually when you eat something really healthy, you have to sacrifice something else. And that's where I'm at on this. Like, okay, let me take my natural talent with cuisine, because I'm a good cook, at least so I've been told, and use that to experiment and see what I can find to make something even healthier and just as tasteful or flavorful, better word, thank you, or just as flavorful, or if not more flavorful, and do that so it doesn't lose its so the dish doesn't lose its authenticity. Because that's one thing I notice. When people do stuff to make it healthy, or companies create these new healthy things that they put out, some way it loses its authenticity. And I'm experimenting to see if I can create dishes where it doesn't. The soy sauce, in my eyes, is a hit, and I've tasted not soy sauce, sweet and sour sauce. The sweet and sour sauce, I've tasted many different types of sweet and sour sauce. And the one that I've made, the healthy version I've made, is one of the best sweet and sour sauces I've ever tasted. And I have tasted many over the years. Believe me, I've eaten a lot of Asian cuisine. So, trust me, I know my sweet and sour sauce. But that's one thing, which actually I just had it day before yesterday again too. But I digress. The thing I'm working on is a healthy pound cake. So the recipe that I have, I've changed the ingredients around. I finally received all of the ingredients because I had to order them. And now I have to see how the flavors of things I'm substituting from the original healthy pound cake recipe that I found, how it will play. And that's what I'm in the middle of doing. The goal is to make it this weekend. Also, speaking of this weekend, I have 3 or 4 interviews. I have to look at the calendar. And hopefully, knock on wood, everything will go well. Because actually, I had an interview booked for Sunday on Halloween with someone, but they had technical difficulties and whatnot. And they're saying, well, we can reschedule and everything else. Look, and this is not me being mean or being shady or whatever. This is just me being me. My listeners know I'm very direct. Polite, but direct. And my thing is, the conversations with KC is not really my main focus. Also, you might hear a plane going by right now, too, with the propellers or whatever. But anyways, the conversations with KC, that isn't my focus. It just isn't. I have other things on this show that I'm doing, along with the tarot card readings, which also I want to talk about that in a second too. But the conversations with KC is sort of like the icing on the cake, since I was just talking about cake. When I do the conversations with KC, if I'm able to make it happen where I can sit down and have a conversation with someone and upload that interview, great. It's all gravy. It gives you, my listeners, something to listen to, and you may learn something from the conversation. I'll learn something from the conversation, and we're all happy. If it doesn't work out, then it's not the end of the world to me. Whatever will be, will be. Que sera, sera. So that's how I look at it. As for this weekend, like I was saying, I believe I have 3. I know I have a minimum of 3 interviews booked this weekend. And as long as my energy is up, my energy's been up and down. So I'm hoping I need to make sure I get to bed just a little bit earlier and do that. And I'll have to just pull it out hopefully this weekend and do that. But as long as everything goes according to plan, I will have a minimum of 3 interviews where I have conversations with people to discuss things, and I can start uploading those the beginning of next week, depending on how things are going. Also, because I'm doing the interviews this weekend, it will cut into what I was doing for the 2022 readings. I've already done 6 of the 2022 readings. So I stopped. I finished Gemini. So next up is my sign, Cancer. And I may attempt to do the Cancer 2022 reading tomorrow for Friday, which is the November the 5th. I may attempt to do that if I'm able to. It just depends on what the schedule is like, what my energy is, and what's going on. So we'll see what happens from there. As for all of the 2022 readings, I am strongly considering uploading them to YouTube, the audio, because that's what I've been doing lately, is uploading the audio to YouTube. So if you're subscribed to my YouTube channel and you haven't listened to the 2022 reading for your sign, if that's something that you listen to, then you can always be on the lookout for that on YouTube as well. I may just wait until I finish. I don't know. It depends on my mood. I might wait until I finish all of the 2022 readings and then start uploading on YouTube little by little, or I may just start uploading sometime within the next week or so. It just depends how things are going. I'm sort of playing things by ear right now because I have other things going on. What else? There was something else I wanted to mention outside of Lucky Numbers is still going along fine. Like I said, I have the bandwidth for that. So it's been going really well. And I'm trying to think what else. I feel like there was something else I wanted to mention in regards to the show, and it's not coming to me right now. So I mentioned the food, I mentioned the interviews, I mentioned the 2022. Also, I'm thinking about doing another reading for the collective. I'm not sure. I've kind of wanted to because I bought a new tarot deck and a new oracle deck, and I kind of want to use them. So there is a not new moon. There is a lunar moon in Taurus, if I'm not mistaken. There's a lunar moon in Taurus. I want to say November the 13th or something. It's an eclipse moon is what it is. There's an eclipse. As a matter of fact, let me just look it up. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I have to figure out. I don't even remember what, because I use 2 browsers. Let me see. Moon. No, it's not on that one. Let me check this one and see. Moon. Okay, here we go. Moon calendar. I'm looking. It's bringing it up now. Bear with me. Moon calendar. Oh, it's not the 13th. It is the 19th. It's in Taurus. So it is a full moon. It's going to be, so it is a full moon. It'll be a full moon in Taurus on November the 19th, and it's going to be a lunar eclipse partial. And then on December the 4th, it will be a solar eclipse total in Sagittarius with a new moon in Sagittarius is what it will be. And then December 19th, it'll be a full moon in Gemini is what will happen. So, that's going to be interesting. I don't know if I want to wait that long to do a reading for the collective. So I may do a reading for the collective sometime next week. Next week, that'll be what, like the 11th or so. And then a week after that is when we'll start going into that full moon in Taurus energy, which is a lunar eclipse partial. So yeah, for November the 19th. So that'll be going on. So yeah, I think I might be doing a reading for the collective, just a random reading, nothing related to the moons or anything like that. Probably next week. So maybe around the 10th or the 11th or something like that is what I may do. What else? I feel like there might have been something else that's going on. Yeah, everything else, as for the regular tarot readings for each sign, I don't know if I will do any in November. I'm not sure. I don't know if I'll have the bandwidth. So we'll see. If I have the bandwidth, I'll go ahead and do it. If I don't, I won't. So yeah, also news articles. I plan on doing some more news articles because they seem to be really popular. So I will be doing those. I have not forgotten about the Best Buy $200 membership plan that I mentioned before, where I said I would get more information on it. Just a heads up, because that was another thing I wanted to talk about too. What I did was I contacted Best Buy's press department, media, public relations. And I sent an email and I was like, hey, is there a way that I can speak with somebody and do a conversation, an interview, conversations with KC, and they can discuss the details of the plan so people can better understand it, me being one of those people. And I was like, if you can't do that, can you reply with just more detailed information? Like, what's the difference between the regular plan and this new $200 membership plan? I haven't heard from them. I'll double check my spam folder to make sure they didn't send anything. Worst case scenario, I can just call up Best Buy. Texas is a one-party consent state, so only one party needs to consent to record the conversation as well. But I'll more than likely be polite and just tell them, hey, just so you know, all my phone calls are recorded. and do that. And I'll just have to call and get a hold of someone at Best Buy and then have that conversation. And I can edit out their name, but put the conversation up on the podcast and do that if I don't hear back from them. Because I really want to know about this $200 membership plan, especially since Black Friday is coming up. Just saying. So that may be something else that I'll be working on this weekend as well, along with the healthy pound cake. Oh, boy. I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's about it. That's all I can think of off the top of my head for the stuff that love readings. When it comes to tarot, love readings are on pause for right now. I might do a love reading for the collective possibly, but I don't see that. I honestly don't. If I start back with some of the love readings, it may be in December. I might do that in December, is what I may do. So yeah, just a heads up. But other than that, I'll continue doing the news articles. I plan on doing sports articles because I haven't done a sports story in forever. So I plan on doing that. I will hopefully get a sports article up, or episode, I should say, within the next week, give or take. But yeah, that's all I have for right now for show announcements. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. But thank you to everyone. When I went down into the actual details of where my listeners are at all over the world, in the cities they're in, it put a huge smile on my face. So for all of those who, whether you've only listened to the show once and never listened to it again, or you're a consistent listener, or you just come in and you binge watch a bunch of episodes, which that happened today. Somebody binge listened to like 100 of my episodes as well. So if you just binge listen and then you leave for a while, then you come back and you binge listen again, if you're one of those listeners, whatever type of listener you are, any support that you have given to the Keeping It Real with KC podcast, you will always have my thanks. I'm appreciative of it more than you will ever know, because you're giving me your time. You have a choice on who you want to listen to. And when you take time out of your day to listen to me, I'm always honored that you made the choice to listen to me and my wackiness and all the stuff I talk about on the show. Because if you pay attention to the podcast, I give you a plethora of everything on this podcast. So yeah. So I appreciate you for that, and I love you more than words could ever say. KIRWKC.com, main podcasting platform. This podcast is carried on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Overcast, Bullhorn, Amazon Music, Audible, and several other podcasting platforms. Please feel free to listen to this podcast on whatever platform is most convenient for you. KIRWKC on all the social media platforms. Until next time, be blessed.